Here this evening is Patrick Knight, Mike Roth, Craig Schulte, Aaron Carlson, Ben Peters, Michael Gary, and myself, along with Kim Dunsmore. Our city attorney is not with us this evening, correct?
It's we have another city attorney this evening.
Oh.
Kara Brown.
Kara Brown?
Yeah. Hello, yes, I'm here.
Hi, Kara.
Hey.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
All right, there is no one in the audience for the open forum and no one online.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll scoot past that. And then the consent agenda.
Should we add this?
Yes, that'd probably be a good idea. The one bill to pay. And then I just have one comment about the meeting minutes. And any questions about bills or anything?
I didn't have any questions.
Okay. Any other additions to the consent agenda besides the Granger bill in your package? Okay. On the meeting minutes, it just had one correction, which I believe is toward... Yeah, in counselor reports on page 4, the EDA contact list needs to be updated as actually the contact list for our joint leader
Okay.
group
Yep.
meeting. That's the one we need to update. That's all.
Make that change.
That was it for me. Anything else with meeting minutes? All right, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the addition of this bill?
I would so move.
Second?
I'll second.
All right. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. That's universal. So next up is the 8th Avenue Park paving project. So that goes with the the work being done right now way over on 8th.
Yeah.
The 8th Avenue is the tricky part of this.
Oh.
It's actually the Park Road.
It's the Park Road from, from Highway 61 down.
Yeah.
Still 8th Avenue, yeah. That's what this is.
So it is 8th Avenue in the sense that it's directly below the continuation
Okay,
of
but
8th
it's
Avenue.
actually-
We're talking about paving in the park.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's due to the work that was done in that,
No, we kind of,
It's
Isn't
just,
it? Isn't
it
it
spurs
from?
from that.
we
Yeah.
were gonna try to do it when they did the parking lot, but then we had to do some different engineering.
While we were working with the DNR, they
Right.
suggested that we apply to this funding source to get
Help
some
fund it.
paving done on that road. And we did, and we were successful.
Good.
Great.
okay.
And this is just the results of that, because the funding source requires that the design be engineered and that it meet some state aid standards, and it doesn't quite meet them, so we'll be applying for this variance and we'll be able to move forward.
Seems reasonable to me.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the 8th Avenue Park paving project, which is resolution 2023-13, and this is for the variance for the paving?
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve resolution 2023-13 for the
Second.
8th Avenue or Park Road.
Second.
Paving.
Second? Any further discussion? Okay.
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, let's see, universal, with that, we're all set. Thank you. Next up is the write-off for the Grand Marais Fusion debt.
If you don't remember what this is, that's why we're asking you to write it off.
Mhm.
I
There was
I
a-
do remember.
Oh, yeah.
vaguely remember. Where
Above
was
the
it
blue water?
located?
Above the
Yeah.
blue water.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Anyone like to make a motion to approve this debt write-off?
I don't want to, but I will.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, great,
Okay.
great.
I'll make the motion to write off the bad debt concerning this storefront loan amount of $1189.44.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further questions or concerns?
Do we have many more of these out there?
Oh, this is old, this is 2013.
I know, that's why I was just kind of.
When was the last payment made? Oh, 2012.
2012.
Yeah, April, May, June, yeah.
There are no other outstanding loans.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hmm?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right,
7.
be universal. Okay, that takes care of all official business.
Don't we have our credit enhancement?
We do have one more that we added to the agenda that you should have.
Okay,
It's in-
Oh, yeah, we don't have that.
It has to do with the bond sale. So we will be applying for the Public Facility Authority Credit Enhancement Program. There's an agreement in your packet that's requirement for that. And then there's a resolution that's prepared by our bond counsel to do this. Basically, this program upgrades our credit rating, which is AA, although we're getting re-rated. We don't expect it to be AAA just on our own. It will be AAA when we participate in this program.
Okay.
Okay.
all right.
Oh, here it is.
Do we have a, you're just asking for us to, oh, you don't have a resolution number?
There is a resolution that's not numbered, but we'll just
Okay.
call it 2023-14.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-14?
I'll make the motion to
All right.
approve 2023-14.
Thank you.
Second.
Second? Thank you, Ben. Any further questions?
No.
Good deal.
Comments? I did read through that and totally spaced it out. Okay, all in favor?
Hey,
Aye.
All right.
So then, there's a second resolution included. Actually, this is the first one in sequence in the packet.
Mhm.
The one you just looked at, authorization to the city to enter into a credit enhancement program, is the second one in the packet. The first one is providing for the sale of, it's blank, general obligation utility funds. This is what was prepared again by our bond counsel that sets the time here that you're meeting at 6:30, June 28th, for considering. I don't think that's quite right, though. Yeah, I think this one, we'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not sure
Okay.
what's going on with that date, because that's today, right
Yes.
now. We're
Yeah.
definitely not doing that.
No, we did that,
Yeah.
so we need the date corrected.
Well, I
right?
think we've already passed a resolution that really does this.
That's what I
so-
thought we
Yeah.
did last time.
But it
Yeah.
was previous to the involvement of our bond counsel. So now, I mean, we had, the resolution we passed last time was Ellers helped us prepare that.
Mhm.
Now we've got QTAC Rock as the bond counsel we use to make sure that all the sale is, complies with the law. And
Mhm.
they provided these two resolutions, but
Okay.
I don't think we want this one, so.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
We'll get that one cleaned up for later. So that's everything for this part?
That is.
Okay.
All right, very good. For our council reports, we'll go around in this direction this time.
Great. So we did have a library meeting. It was great. It's lovely. we talked about a few things. One is they're nice gardens over there, but they have no outdoor faucet that functions yet. So they're working on that, which is great. The heat pump, though, is going well. That was what they got in to, help out with the heat. And that's been going very well. And in fact, they're using it as sort of I don't know what to call it, really, like a showpiece of like what heat pumps can do, like in your home or your business or whatever. So people are coming by to have a look at that, which is kind of cool. Story time for the summer has been going really well. They've got a number of kids. Let's see, she said there's like 86 some that have signed up so far, so that's been going really well. And then we looked at the budget coming up and looking at what our overall increase might look like. And it's going to be, this is just what we know now. We don't have it firm, but an overall of a 7.7% increase. But the biggest chunk of that is things that are just outside of the control of anybody. It's insurance that we don't really get to say. That's 10% jump. So that's one of the biggest pieces. Some smaller things, I think there was like 4% for wages, and like there's another small amount in there, I can't remember. But
2,500 increase in the operational budget for other cost increases.
yeah, but that's like 0.4%, correct?
Yeah, the number I have is 6.8%.
Oh, okay. So that maybe is a better or more correct number. I don't know.
And it'll be on your agenda next meeting.
Yeah.
Where members of the board and staff will come here to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Pat-
there was that. And then we had a Y meeting. We just, a couple of things came out of that. Obviously, they've opened, I don't know if you know, but they're open on Saturdays with the pool. So that's great.
Serious?
I know, crazy.
Wow. Do you
and-
know what hours for the pool?
Oh,
Okay.
we don't talk
That's
about
why we have
hours.
Google.
Yeah.
You're right. I can look that up. Pool hours.
yes,
That's
you can look-
excellent.
Yeah. And they've hired a new, I guess, associate director or executive there, which I assume is just what Emily was, somebody who's actually going to be on staff there to kind of keep things rolling along, and this overall director of things happening there. And she was just hired like a couple of weeks ago, so she's very, very new, but she's going to be there full time, so that'll be great. One cool thing that they've done, and I can't remember what the funding source is for this, but they ended up with some cash and they wanted to do something good for the kids in the community, and so they've made 400 passes for the summer for any youth, 10 years and older can just come in and say, I'd like to come in, and there's a free pass, and there's no requirement of any kind. It's just you can come in, you can use the Y. There are 400 of them. When they're all used up, then they're all used up. But if it goes really well, they'll look at refunding it for next year. It's just a way for kids to have something to do, especially when they're in the in-between age. They're not driving, but they're big and they're running around town. And
So it's daily passes.
It'd be a daily pass,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So anyway,
That's nice.
and that is that.
So Patrick, would this be a convenient time, since we were talking about library? Would you have a moment to bring up the
Yeah.
weekly email? I just wanted to showcase from his weekly newsletter the library stuff,
Oh,
because
okay.
it had what you mentioned and I believe some other things in there too that I thought were kind of fun in the library.
Mhm.
Of course, this will be too small for anybody's eyeballs, I know.
Once
but
I get there, I can try to
Dun,
zoom
dun,
in.
dun. There it is.
Because he talked about people visiting,
Mm.
coming up the shore, who are coming in to make use of the library's meeting room and all the sort of office facilities, if printing, photocopying, whatever. Thought that was kind of neat. And then the ping pong table on the lawn. Oh, and there's craft afternoons, or how do they say that?
Afternoons.
Clever.
Crafting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So crazy.
So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's more than just books as usual.
Yeah.
What is it? And participants. Oh, part of story time. They have crafts and rhymes and songs too.
Ooh, and the Golden Compass. I like that. That's a good book.
Oh. Yeah, so it's kind of neat. I just wanted to showcase that among some of the other things that you can see if you are a subscriber to the city's email weekly newsletter that gets in your box on Fridays, thanks to Patrick and the rest of the staff who puts all the big information in and photos.
And the
Thank you,
sign up for
Patrick.
that is on the front page of our website.
Yes, along with now Jacob Baker's
Phone number.
and weekly update. Thanks, Patrick. Okay. Ben.
Well, let's see, had a board meeting with the North House.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good. Bobby Deschamps is a new board member there, so it was cool welcoming him. And it was, the bulk of the meeting was talking about the yellow building. And LHB was there, Bruce. They were talking about some different options, some different things to think about. They got the budget back. I was a little surprised by, I think, some of those numbers. There were a number of other projects that they're wanting to do in conjunction with the build. Some of them on that property, some of them in the green building across the street. And so there was sort of prioritizing what do we do based on the monies, right? I think they only had a 10% contingency built in, which we know that doesn't go very far, right? But yeah, so it was good. Yesterday afternoon is a good time to talk about.
Sure.
Mike and I met with a few of their board members, just to maybe start the foundation of those conversations about the relationship between the North House and the city, and introducing some of what maybe things we wanted to talk about regarding the lease that we've all talked about before. But more it was about listening and hearing and determining how do we want to have these conversations, right? So
Yeah.
are they, and who's going to be involved in them? That's something for us all to figure out and talk about, and yeah, and then I think it was positive. We were able to tentatively set another meeting at the end of August. So that was good. It wasn't just a one and now we're done. You know, thanks, Bill.
Well, that was good.
Yeah, so, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think everybody there was really appreciative of the tone of the meeting. Everybody was excited to get to work on this and figure out how we can work together better and be successful, so.
Yeah,
I was
I
pleased.
agree.
sounds good.
Yep, and that's everything.
Okay, thanks. Aaron.
So I just had a meeting with C-Clip, and they just got a couple grants for, they got the Lloyd K. Johnson grants for $20,000, and then they got a couple other grants for $35,000, or for a total of 35, including the Lloyd K. Johnson. And so they're going to be deciding what they're going to be doing with those. And then I just wanted to put this out there that, and it's not really a city thing, but Arrowhead is going to be discontinuing their dual fuel rate. So if that affects you, it's going to be ending in the next heat billing, or yeah, the next session. Also, I had a meeting with LHB about net zero emissions. We kind of just discussed some of the things that they could do for when we build City Hall. So that was really nice. And then also, this isn't really a meeting, it's more of something I've heard. There's a lot of dead trees along Highway 61, or what look like dead trees, and I assume that that's still under contract with the state. So they're just not doing a whole lot. It
Maybe
seems
you
like.
saw the crew come through town a couple of weeks ago and apply mulch in some of the mulch beds.
Mhm.
I had no idea they were coming. I have no idea what they did. And so far have not had a great success getting direct help from MnDOT on what the plan is with the landscaping. So we're still working on that.
Okay. That's good. That's about it.
Thanks.
Do you transplant trees in the fall? Do you do that?
Usually, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe they
Usually
brought,
good time.
hope they brought wet mulch,
Do you
because I
make it wet?
think they needed water, those trees. They're getting it now, but
Yeah.
for the last month and a half, they weren't getting.
Yeah, no, it's been dry.
Yeah, some of them are, I mean, I looked at that today when I drove through town, just kind of looking, okay, that tree's not gonna make it, that tree's dead. There are a few that did not make the winter.
I
Some of
heard
them look really good.
Some are
that they might have
okay.
replaced some, but I see
I
no
don't-
sign of that.
I don't know if that happened, no.
Yeah.
I can't say, but I didn't notice it.
My back of the napkin sketch was 20% look really good, 20% look dead, and the rest are somewhere in between.
That was the-
And so we've got a maple tree that we planted 20 years ago across the street, two of them here, that I was pretty sure are dead, and they're still in between 20 years later. It's a tough environment, so I guess we don't expect them all to survive,
Right.
Yeah.
but this isn't adequate yet. It needs to get better.
Okay, by meeting with the park board, we kind of kicked off our, started yesterday and finished up today. HKGI was up. Gabrielle Grindle, she's the park planner and landscape architect for HKGI. So yesterday we met with 4 stakeholders. Today we met with 8 stakeholders. And the stakeholders that I'm mentioning are just people of groups within the city that show some interest in wanting to get their, I guess, give their input. And that's the process we're going through here for June, July, and August, is actually engaging the public. So we did that today. And then the input that they gave us today, following the questions that we had put out there for them to comment on, will be brought before us, I think, we're just calculating this out today. We have a June 11th meeting, and she thinks that she can put something kind of together, or July 11th, no, I'm sorry, yeah, July 11th meeting, to put together the input of all these people, or all these groups, to kind of lay down the foundation of helping to get started in September and October to develop the master plan document. We still have 2 days for the public that can still comment. Is it getting taken down Friday after Friday, or Friday? I just heard that public
Sometime Friday.
Sometime Friday. But anyway, if people are out there that want to log on and to make a comment, a public comment, and I think that I heard a number today of over 400 comments that we've
Yeah.
received, which is kind of nice. So you still have a couple of days to go on and answer some questions and put your comment in there. And this is a projection of the next 25 years of how the park, could evolve into. I mean, the last time we did this was 2009, and there were a lot of big things that were written in that master plan that never happened, of course, but there were some things that did happen. And so now we're kind of taking some things of that '09 plan that we think was kind of important, but we kind of just didn't do it. And it's getting brought to our attention that, hey, we should have looked into more of that. We should have done something about that. So some of it will drift into this new one. There'll be other things added to it, I'm sure. So anyway, we had a pretty successful meeting today. There were quite a few, or yesterday and today. So we met, got a lot of input. So I guess that's about all I have about that. We're waiting to be curious to see what happens on July 11th, to see how this all gets put together. Lots of comments, and not everything, I mean, there are groups that come before us, of course, that aren't economic driven. Some of it is, some of it isn't, so we're getting a good mix of, aesthetics, how should things look? Economy is part of it, development is part of it.
Yeah.
Too much development is part of it. Too much of a good thing might not be always a good thing in the future. So, I mean, we're
Right.
kind of looking at all. We're getting all that input. So it's kind of nice to be able to at least digest that and see that. So anyway, we just finished up our meeting today at 4 o'clock, so.
So last week, when I was down at the conference, I checked with Patrick, and there was like 300 responses at that time, because I've been, I
Yeah.
think, I'm
Today I
worried.
heard 400. That's
So
what
that-
Dave said, so I'm not sure.
So that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big
Oh, yeah.
increase.
Yep.
Yep.
And I know when Patrick and I talked, we can look and see who is that park users, is that local people, whatever. But do we have a feel yet if, 80% are the people who are
don't
coming
know.
from the park, or to really know if we're getting our local feedback? I'm just concerned it's the busy time of year to catch
Right.
people's attention.
I didn't feel that out, but I sure can probably, who's monitoring that? Dave and HKG?
HKGI.
Okay, so
And-
that's a question we could put
We'll
out
be
there
able
to
to
Gabriel
report.
to just kind of say, hey, how much of this is local? How much is not? Just to see what we're getting out of the local people, because like you said, it's just a busy time of year, and, yeah.
I did read an article on WTIP, a little update from the superintendent, and I noticed he mentioned the ball field
Yeah, we had a big discussion about that stuff today.
getting that moved again, so.
Well, that was a topic of discussion in 2009,
Yeah.
Where would they move it?
Well, a lot of it is money. I think in 2009, I think they did a little bit of a research on what it would cost to build a third ball field, and it was a lot of money.
Up
So,
by
I
the
mean,
school. with
up by the
other
school.
ones, to Have it all
Above
together.
the existing ball field.
Where the two already are. If you see a map of that. Anyway, I was looking at a map of it today, and it's kind of like, it doesn't look like from the sky like other ball fields I see. Like the infields are a little bit warped on this corner. I mean, it's just kind of funny when you look at that. But,
It's not a professional baseball field.
well, no, but I'm just saying, when I travel and look around, I look at recreational areas that other places do, and, when they do a ball field, they strategically set it up so they have 4.
Multiple games going.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it takes up a lot of land mass.
A lot of
And
flat-
our land mass north of what we have up there is not the greatest. It's
No.
wetland,
Wet and sloped.
It's
wet
very
and sloped, right. So, it's not the easiest thing to do. But then we also talked today about scheduling, who's using the ball field. The one ball field off to the right up is the schools. That's not the community center, I guess. I don't know who, the other two are community ball fields. The other one is the school ball field, so. Yeah, we talked about scheduling, who's using them, and, that kind of thing, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy, we're just, bring everything to the table, is what I'd like to see, and then what can we do? What could we do? And when we do this and accomplish this and finish this, then we're poisoning ourselves for possibility of working on getting money to do some of these things. And maybe a ball field is one of them. Maybe something else is another part of it, So
Yeah.
that's why we're doing this,
Well, it's just nice to see that the school has it back on their radar, because it'd be a group effort,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
nice.
So we had the community center today. We had the art colony come in and do a presentation, WTIP, North Folk House, Historical Society, Bobby Deschamps from the Tribal, chair came in and gave his, what he felt about the rec park. Like you said, it doesn't really, I mean, it's not a, you know, it just, why are they interested, or what can they say? And Visica County, of course, I'm just gonna list them since I'm doing it. Visica County started off. Then we had Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light, we had Grand Marais Yacht Club, we had Creative Economy Collaborative, the CEC, and we had Kevin Johnson from the DNR Parks and Trails Supervisor from Two Harbors, who started off the talks yesterday. So we're getting a lot of mix of people who, you know, have resources, you know. Anyway, she has a lot of information to digest and put together for July 11th, so that's what we're waiting for.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks.
Mike, you wanted to had at least one thing, right? Art festival.
I'll follow
Not
up
sure
on
what
the
else.
survey. The first two questions are, select the best description of how you use the park. So people are self-identifying whether they're campers, seasonal or overnight, whether they're locals, whether they're visitors just day using it, or whether they don't use it. And the second question is, select the best description of your relationship to Grand Marais, a permanent resident, seasonal resident, a Cook County resident, or a visitor from outside Cook County. Again, self-select. So that'll be the demographic information we'll be able to report with the survey numbers to put it in some context.
Yeah.
The Art Colony has been doing a lot of good work getting ready for the upcoming art festival, which is downtown. You tentatively approved their application in December and asked for some more information. I'm giving you the final results, I'll call it. And the map with the barricades is really how staff most actively interfaces with them, because we'll be putting the barricades out, not necessarily placing them. You can see that they've got quite a few planned for the 2-block area that we're going to be closing. They've done a lot of communicating with businesses that are affected by it, making sure everybody understands how they'll still be able to access their properties, and adding some additional barricades based on feedback they receive from those businesses. They also provided, I just gave you a sample, but of something they're giving to their artists on setting up the rules about it, how they expect people to move through the space, when they expect them to do it. It looks very organized, and I'm appreciating all the work they've done for it. And they're back downtown. I really actually kind of enjoyed it up at the school, but I also enjoy it downtown, and so I know they're excited to be back down there, and it should be a great festival.
Yeah.
So they having porta potties brought in over on the, see on the left side there? Is that what?
Looks like it's near or in Harbor Park.
Yeah.
Yes, with the
Yeah.
cute little, yeah, that's right.
Okay, so that's where they're having those placed. Okay.
Tomorrow I'll be down at LHB's Duluth office for most of the day, going through what they call the round robin, where each of their disciplines will be presenting on the preliminary plans, where they're at on the building, and then the rest of the disciplines are there to ask questions, and it's one of their tools they use to kind of coordinate all the efforts and make sure people know what's going on. Prior to that, Kim and I will be meeting with Standard & Poor's at 8:15 to do our interview with them. That is the key basis of our rating for the upcoming bond. So that's always exciting.
You sound excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's fun. It's one of the things that I really appreciate about our relationship with Southern Minnesota Municipal Power Association, strangely enough, because they also go through the rating process to get bonds, and they've provided us with kind of a lot of information on what rating agencies look at, the sorts of things they care about, and it's helpful to know. So what do they care about? How much money have you got? How liquid is it? How does that compare to your expenses? What sort of policies do you have in place to make sure that your finances are in order? What kind of planning do you do for future? What kind of budgeting do you do? that's the sort of questions that they've got. They have a lot of this information already because this isn't our first time talking to them. And of course, they'll also have all of our existing financial reports to look at, all of our recent audits and financial statements. So that's a lot of work, primarily that Kim has been working on recently. Our audit, draft audit report is in our hands now, and it's kind of down to the wire. We've got reports, I say we, but it's really Kim, has reports that she needs to get done in June, and June is almost gone. And we rely on the audit report being done so that she can do that. It's a busy time of year for her. So thanks for all that extra effort, Kim.
Yeah, thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
And that's it for me.
Okay. Oh, how was your conference last week?
My conference last week was terrific. American Public Power Association, so this is many of the municipal electric utilities across the United States in Seattle. I focused on a couple of different areas. One, electric vehicles, so procuring them for fleets, thinking about how to set up your system to accommodate them, how many are there going to be, and also power storage, utility storage, so battery systems, looking at where the technology is. So really both of those issues are not current events for us. They're future planning issues for us, but they're coming. So it's good to see where everybody else is at. And we can't buy an electric bucket truck yet because nobody's really making them. And the only people that are successful in getting them are incredibly large utilities that literally call up the manufacturer and have a conversation about making them specifically. So, but they're coming too.
Nice.
I sent this over to you, I think, a little while ago, kind of related to this. The EDA was asked to sign a letter of support for a project going through the IRRR to help get funding to get more charging stations up in our neck of the woods. And I was kind of surprised. Like, I still don't know if the county was asked to. I don't know why the city wouldn't have been asked to participate. Like, have you ever heard any more updates?
No.
I've got to ask at the next EDA meeting. I don't quite understand why it only went to them, if it could be something that could positively affect us all. I mean, I know there's supposed to be more funding. What I read was that the state was focused on the I-94 corridor, and was it part of 35?
Yeah,
Or the metro?
you might even see some signs that talk about the corridors that they've identified.
Mhm.
Their first chunk of money that the state had was from the Volkswagen
Mm-hmm.
settlement, and they went and did, through the NPCA and some other agencies, a lot of grants to try and identify corridors and get charging stations out there. I think we actually might have taken advantage of some of that with SIMPA because they're based in Rochester and in the I-90 corridor area. Then, of course, we've participated through SIMPA with getting some charging stations here, but also in the other 18 cities. And we've also had a lot of conversations with local businesses about their interest in setting up charging stations and whether or not there's funding available for it. So we're certainly interested in that, and I wish they would have contacted us, but we'll see what we can find out.
Well, it's probably time to do some outreach back with Ida
Yeah.
and her group. Okay, thanks. Patrick, is this a good time for the 5th Street update? Or
Yeah.
5th? Yeah, 5th Street. not Avenue.
So I'm going to start just by giving out Jacob Baker's phone number, and I'll give it again at the end. 218-370-2322. He's happy to, that's his work cell phone, so he's happy to take calls anytime, and in my experience, he's been super responsive. This week, Yulin Brothers has been installing storm sewer from Highway 61 to 1st Street, and they plan to be completed to 1st by the end of the week. From 1st Street to 2nd Street, Yulin will be installing new water service connections from homes to the new main line, completed by the end of the week as well. At the courthouse, they've been blasting bedrock to make room for a new stormwater system. That'll also be completed by the end of the week. And next week, they are going to start installing storm sewer from First Street to Second Street. That's what I got so far. And then, again, anyone with questions can call Jacob Baker at 218-370-2322. Call or text him, and he gets right back to you.
And he's now part of your weekly e-newsletter, right?
Yeah,
Which is nice.
basically, I just that's what I just read through it. So
Oh.
if you'd like a recap of that, that'll be coming out at the end of the week with a nice picture.
So another reason to sign up
Yeah,
for the
right.
newsletter. There we
That's
go.
right.
All right, thanks.
We probably got 3 or 4 calls this morning from people that have questions about the project and just assume that we know the answer. And we do. The answer is you should try giving Jacob a call. And so far, that's worked every time. He's been terrific.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Good. 2 things. I went to the League of Minnesota Cities Conference Wednesday through Friday last week. That was their most attended conference at over 700 people, and it was really great. And I met lots of people, sat down at lots of different tables, and there's always an added perk to having your badge say Grand Marais, because even if you're walking down the hall, people were like, "Oh my God, I love that place," or whatever, have questions about it, or so it makes it easier to strike up a conversation with strangers. But it's really neat to hear everyone else's concerns and issues. And one of the things that stood out for me is I'd really like to give a huge shout out to our various public and private news sources in our community, from Boreal to Cook County News Herald to our radio station WTIP, because we are in so much of a better spot to have conversations and knowledge about what's going on in our community and be able to get a voice out there than a lot of these small towns, especially with hardly a small town newspaper still existing. And most of them do not have access to a community radio, so they don't get a lot of airtime, or certainly not a real just a here's the story kind of thing. So I just want to say thanks to having all that here in Cook County for us, because puts us leaps and bounds ahead, I think, of a lot of other small cities. That was a standout for me. The opening speaker was really darn good, and he had some great ideas for when we engage in community conversations and planning, some really great tips. I won't go into them, but he did a really nice job on that. They went over, so LMC is super involved as lobbyists, and of course this was a gangbuster year for them, so I ended up in 3 different sessions all around cannabis. One was that was the theme of a working session that at my table chose to talk about, which is why I sat at that table. And then a couple came from the staff there at LMC and the lobbyist who watches it. And they influence, and she pointed out all the ways they influenced the final legislation as well, and put in a lot of things that other states don't have, and things that mattered to a small community like ours, like the ability to have a registration fee, which most places do not, so that we could recoup our costs, different things like that they took into account. So that was great. They did talk once again about the Greater Minnesota formula for funding with housing, and then also the one-time $40 million of funding for workforce housing. So I sent a note a while ago to Jason on this, but I'd like to invite him to come to our next meeting for update, along with the project as well up on top of the hill, and just give us an update, maybe fill us in on that. What else? I went to a conversation about salting roads in wintertime, and they mostly focused on other ways besides salt, which basically had to do with building design, which I thought would be good for, for LHB to be incorporating even into this building. Really basic. It feels basic the way they explain it, but A lot of times they don't think about that. There's also a salt symposium, August 1st and 2nd online, that maybe some of our city staff might want to go in. There's, it's not like you have to be there all day, but there's different topics they might be interested in for that. And Mike and I talked about this, but I also heard a little bit about the funding available for lead pipe replacement from your house to the city connection, even if it's galvanized, because there's still lead connectors in there, which Mike's aware, but yeah, there's money even just to help you. Every community has to have an inventory of their water lines, so there's even money available to help with that. They recognize small towns' needs. They don't have the staff or the money to do things like this, so there's money available to do your inventory, if you need to do a visual inspection, and then how you develop your funding replacement plan itself, all that. So those are some of the standouts from that. But the biggest one was probably Cannabis, so I sent all of you to the entire screen. There we go. Allow. What do we see? Did that work?
Not yet.
Oh, does it take a second?
Not yet.
No, please.
Okay. So I just put together a few slides of things that I thought,
Where's your browser connection?
oh, I forgot to hit something. There we go. I missed that. Thank you. That might be of concern to us at the city level. Some of the key dates, August 1st, that's when things become legal, but it's not till January 2025 till any sales will be probably able to begin, so it's not like anybody can be out selling at any level of any kind. There's 2 years minimum till the office gets set up and they're ready to go. The one other action item is our current sellers of the THC products do need to register at the Department of Health by August 1st, or October 1st, sorry.
And do you happen to know, like when it says THC there, is it any particular level or any level?
This is
Or-
really the edibles,
Okay.
which,
Delta 9 stuff.
yeah. A lot, when I was at this meeting, there was still tons of conversation about, well, I don't think our city wants to do this. Well, that ship has sailed, but I thought you might want to know, like, what can we do? Well, we can't prohibit anyone, we can't prohibit what's been authorized by this new law. We can do certain things, but that's not one of them. And then this is kind of important because there's a lot, like we talked about it with you in insurance and stuff before. So it's important to understand that under federal law, marijuana is still illegal. That does not include they aren't governing the edibles. And that's an important piece to keep when you work through some of this. But it also, we talked about all the different areas that are federally affected. Like if you are in a federally funded housing, illegal. If your health care has some federal funding related, and I don't know what that means if you're in a federal forest, if technically you're, but you just kind of, it's like if you think about it, there's a lot that the federal funding touches.
Federal funding, period. Do you accept federal funding?
Yeah, so then right now, until that office is set up, regulation has been put upon the Minnesota Department of Health till this agency
They don't
gets.
really have that much to do, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of do because, yeah, they do. So what's different for the edibles now that this law's been adopted? Because that's really the only thing that's up and running for right now. So any of the products other than the beverages have to now be behind a counter. They have to verify age like they would with cigarettes and tobacco or tobacco and liquor. We can sell those products at our municipal liquor store. And as of July 1st, they are subject to the 10%, they'll have to collect that 10% tax. On-site consumption is now limited to businesses that have an on-sale liquor license, which was not before. And then there's some other details in there about how that has to be done for that on-sale. If we had put in any kind of licensing, we could still utilize that. But once the new rules come in effect, we won't be, as a city, we won't be able to license. And once again, all those businesses have to register, but at this point, they don't register with us, they register with the Department of Health. At some time in the future, probably once all the licensing is in place, then they probably will have to register with us, like a joint process like everything else. So right now, we don't have to worry about registering. Probably makes sense to have a good inventory list of who they are. We can still adopt a moratorium on the cannabis products, but we can't on these edibles or low products. If we had one already existing, it wouldn't impact, but we don't. Is that like not too totally confusing? And we do have other things we can do. So we can prohibit, we can't prohibit cannabis events, and they are allowed to last up to 4 days. but we can set up a licensing for them and put in various restrictions. So that's something we probably want to consider and take some action on, I would think, where we want to talk about it, I would assume, and fairly soon, before August 1st. And because that could affect an event, any other kind of public event, like Fisherman's Picnic that's coming up.
It's 4 days.
Yeah, it's 4 days.
It's not longer than 4 days.
I'm gonna go buy a Frito-Lay truck.
Well, smoking and vaping in public are still not legal.
But there could be other,
Yes.
yeah,
You can
so,
still, if it's legal for you to use it, you can use it, but you can't smoke and vape in public spaces.
so it seems clear cut, but it gets a little messy, but I do think there's a few things we probably want to talk again and have on a real agenda item and see if we want to take action. And I was going to suggest that maybe that group with the county, we meet before August 10th and think if there's something we want to maybe do as a combined, like maybe we could have a
Yeah.
countywide agreement about something like this just to make it easier. I don't know. But anyways, sooner rather than later on that one. And yes, somebody could be charged with a crime for cannabis in public, but we would need to adopt an ordinance. So we can adopt a petty misdemeanor ordinance. So we may want to consider how we want to do that.
I think that's redundant with state law about smoking and vaping unless you also want to include other cannabis products.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'd need to talk that through, I think.
Mhm.
But we'd probably once again want to do that and get it done before August.
So what do we say about alcohol right now? I mean, don't we have something about intoxication or something like that? I mean, couldn't we fold it in to
Yeah,
that?
and we've gone back and forth on whether we have a local law about, like, open container, for instance. It's just typically not allowed.
Right.
So another possible topic at a city level, and yeah, this gets back to what you were saying, that it is governed by the Clean Indoor Air Act. So anywhere that, which I guess is a little different because that's indoor, but that also kind of takes care of it. And yes, in theory, we could have a municipal cannabis store, retail store in the future, we would have to apply for a license just like anyone else, and they cannot be included in with the liquor store. It would have to be a
What?
separate business.
Oh, we could have like Anton's Shanty or something like
Yes,
that.
that's right.
So right now, our current responsibility at just a few that are standouts, once the licensing goes into effect, that's done by the state, then we will still be required to register retailers, and there's certain things have to do. We'll have to perform compliance checks. We can set some zoning ordinances and there's stuff with hours. I didn't put all the details here, but there's other things we can kind of put into place. And then the other, though, when they start to expunge people's records in August, I don't know how much this affects us, but we will need to seal if there were any records that way. I think would that be more done by the county?
Yeah, we don't have any sort of
Anything
criminal
from
records.
that? Okay.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure if from way back we did or not. So those were the few, and I think I sent you guys that laundry list of everything, all those FAQs. And they're going to update and change that on the League of Minnesota City site, so if you ever want to read again, you might want to just go right there and
Yeah.
pull it down, because she'll update it all the time. But those are just a few standouts I thought if we wanted to put them on an agenda item or whatever, talk about, think through.
And you can see why it's great that we're working directly with the county for now on this too, since both compliance checks and potentially even the registration would be something we do. Well, for sure, they'll be doing compliance checks with us while they're our law enforcement. And then there's also limits on the number, or we can set limits on the number of retail licenses, and that's something we'd also want to coordinate with the county, at least for now, we're talking about that, so.
Yeah, I would think definitely on that. And then I didn't put all the other stuff that's more black and white on that, because some of this I thought, like how much you can have in the taxation, where that's pretty well, you can read that part. So I think it was worth including. But it's a hot topic, lots of questions, busy meeting rooms in that conference. Everyone wanted to talk about it. So, that's all I have. That's a wrap then, right? We're all done. Thanks, everyone. Happy 4th of July. Enjoy your long weekend, if it should be a time to get away.